Welcome to another episode of Amplify with Adam. Today we have a very exciting guest. We've got Brantley Lingerfelt from Lingerfelt Machine Works. Brantley, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, it's nice to be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Well, Brantley, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got going with Lingerfelt Machine Works.
So, my company is Lingerfelt Machine Works. We started back in 2018, and it's kind of a funny story how we got started. One of our family friend had a shop, and he had a couple machines that he wasn't using. So I asked him one day, I was like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I use these?" He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why not?" So my day job, I only work 4 days a week. So I was like, "Hey, I can come over on Fridays and the weekends if that's cool with you." And he was like, "Yeah." So I started doing that and making some money. And every job I would give him a cut out of it for using his power and his machines, all that good stuff. So and it's just kind of been built from there. And I saved, me and my wife saved up enough money to build a shop right beside our house, and we got it built in 2019. Got that built, and then bought our first CNC machines on our own in 2020.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So did you have some experience before, like when you were talking to your friend that had the machines, like had you had work in manufacturing before, or were you,
Yeah.
just getting learning at that point?
No, I've been doing this since I was 13.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
28 now.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it a family business? Like, is that something your dad did, or like, how'd you get exposed to it at 13?
The funny thing is, no, none of my family has been in manufacturing. They're all truck drivers. Like my family owns towing companies. So
Yeah.
I did not want to drive a truck at all. So I decided, I was like, well, when I was in high school, my welding and machine shop teacher, he got me into doing it, and I started getting the Skills USA competitions. And I was like, man, it's actually pretty cool to be able to make stuff. So I started doing those competitions with him, and I won stuff, and I won toolboxes and tools and all that stuff. And I went and did this for college. I did the same thing through college and won competitions and all that. And it's just something I've been good at since I was 13 years old.
That's amazing.
I've just been building and building on, and then I've always worked in shops too ever since I started working. And I run a custom shop at my day job right now.
Oh,
And
so this is still Lingerfeld is still, like a maybe not a side gig, but like a supplemental gig.
Yeah, this is still it's my second full-time job.
Yeah.
So which is fixing to become my full-time job altogether, because I've gotten so busy. I've got so much work now, and I'm just getting to the point I'm tired of working two jobs.
I bet, man. I bet. We were just talking about earning a Friday and how, we were excited for the weekend. So working two jobs, you definitely get that. So now
Yeah.
when you're saying you're getting more work, is it, has your brand just grown locally, or, is it a mix of Xometry jobs? Because we know you're a Xometry partner, but Xometry jobs and local business, kind of how's that working?
See, I specialize in micro machining.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in Northeast Georgia. So a lot of micro machining work doesn't come from here. A lot of my work actually comes from like California and just all over the United States. For some reason, I get a lot of people from California call me. And but 90% of my jobs come through Xometry.
Awesome.
So I've got so much work coming through Xometry right now, and on top of the other work I get outside of it, I'm just getting to the point where this is becoming a full-time job, and I can't keep up with both of them, and make sure I want to make sure my quality stays top notch and it's not dropping because I'm having to juggle two different jobs.
Right. I mean, that's a challenge that a lot of machinists face, is that you got to wear a lot of hats,
Yeah.
early. So you're, not only are you, doing the machining, but you got to do the quality and the inspection, shipping and fulfillment there. And I see it looks like you guys are also kind of working on your website. Are you actually building that yourself? And
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm doing that myself too.
Awesome. So, I mean, is a lot of this stuff self-taught, or are you still like, leaning on some of your friends? You were talking about your friend with Machine Works. Are you leaning on some of the local, manufacturing community or national manufacturing community to learn some of that stuff?
The my day job that I've worked at for the past almost 9 years now, we actually do micro machining there too.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of that I've learned from there, and I put it with stuff that I learned as I was growing up and going through college. And as I've done Xometry work, I was like, man, oh, that's a new way of doing this. I'm gonna start doing it that way. And I've just kept building on and building on from that.
Yeah. So
And
I, at your day job and actually machining there, right? It's a little different as you start to like start a small business.
mhm.
What are some lessons that you've learned? I mean, it's been 3 years, so obviously you've been able to grow it steadily. What are some lessons that you've learned as you've kind of gotten your small business off the ground?
Don't work yourself to death. Cause that's been the biggest thing. Like right now I work all weekend.
Yeah.
Like I'll take some time on Sunday and spend time with my wife and my little boy. But it's as of right now, like I said, I work every night, every weekend, and just take time. Don't overdo yourself, but you'll get burnt out in a hurry.
Yeah. Which is tough, man, when it's your passion, like you wanna put all you have into it, but
Oh
you're
yeah.
right. You have to take some time for yourself. Now, on your website, I love your tagline, "We make the impossible possible."
Mhm.
Where'd you come up with that? And how does that kind of like inform like all of your day to day, right?
My wife came up with that
Really?
because she looks at all the little tiny parts that I make, and she's like, how in the world do you do this? I was like, well, to me, it's easy because I've been doing it for so long. I love what I do. And she's like, well, you do make the impossible possible. So we just kind of stuck with it.
I love that, man. I love that. So, you're mentioning your young son. If he was getting interested in manufacturing, what are some of the like first lessons that you would teach him about taking on micro machining or starting to work in a small business and small manufacturing?
Just don't overwork yourself. Definitely pay attention to metric because
Yeah.
the whole world uses metric, and for some reason, in the United States, we stuck with standard. And that's one of the biggest things. 90% of my jobs that come through are metric. That's one thing you gotta focus on.
Yeah.
Make sure you know all that stuff. Focus on if you're doing CNC machining, make sure you know you're drawing.
Hmm.
Like if you do, whether it's SolidWorks or Fusion or whatever you use, take time, watch new videos on it, learn new tips and tricks, and just don't skip on that. It's going to keep building.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually something that we've been talking about recently is, the programming. There's almost like three legs to the stool, right? You have programming, machining, and then the quality and inspection piece of it. And you have to make sure that all of those are kind of matching up from a technology and skill standpoint.
Mm.
So how have you balanced that? Is that something, have you had to, did you excel at one of those areas early, or, has all of those kind of been important to you and you've been able to maintain evenness throughout your career?
I've always kept it kind of even because I've never had to deal with a quality team, so I've
Mhm.
always been my own quality. So you just gotta just go through it. And like I said, when I was in high school, I was doing drawing, the CAD classes. So I was doing that at the same time as I was learning my machining. So I put them two together, and I just kind of build on it from there. And as I started working my day job, and now I'm working for myself, I'm having to buy more quality control tools,
Mhm.
gauge pens, and mics, and just more and more stuff. And I'm learning more as I go. And it's just a process. You just gotta figure out.
Is there any quality control tool that you've picked up recently that like you can't live without? Like anything that you've been really excited to get in the shop and has really changed your process?
It's actually something I have in my day job. It's called what we use is called a microview.
Hmm.
It's just a high powered camera that you can measure everything with. That right there, when you're doing really small parts, that's the thing. Because most of the time you can't even you lose the parts as you're holding them, and they're hard to actually hold to gauge, do the hard checks on whatever you're checking. So you just throw it up there onto a camera, and that's the trick. But I've got to get to the point where I can afford one of those.
Right. Right. So besides the micro view, is there any other kind of technology that like as you look towards the future and growing Lingerfelt, is there anything that gets you really excited as far as either like new capabilities, machining, or like some of the quality stuff, or some type of like programming technology that you're really interested in?
um Eventually, hopefully upgrading my CAD software,
Yeah.
I've got a pretty basic one right now. I do all my stuff with it. I do pretty complicated stuff with it, but I want ones that are more in depth with it, so I can do more 3D objects. Like I want to get into the full not just 3-axis machining. I want to go in 4th and 5th axis.
Mm-hmm.
I've got just a small CNC mill right now. I want to get into full 5th axis machining and just do full concept of parts.
Yeah, I mean, 5th axis, it's becoming so prevalent. A lot of engineers are designing parts, more complex, that you can knock out that part all in one go in the 5th axis world. And that's exciting stuff. But it also, it makes the parts more complicated and some of the quality stuff, a little bit more intensive as you're getting into it. So that would definitely be exciting. So.
Things that I'm wanting to get into are like Swiss machining. That's my goal within the next couple of years, to buy a Swiss machine or two and get into doing that. Like I just got a 3-axis mill right now and a CNC lathe, but I do a lot of stuff I need 4th and 5th axis work. I'm doing on a 3-axis mill, and people are still looking at me like, how are you making that on that machine? Like, well, it's fixtures and doing it all myself.
That's funny, man. So as you look at expanding your capabilities, where would you go for some of the educational content to be able to, kind of, expand it sounds like you've got a lot of the skill sets, but, to feel really confident to take on some of those new machines.
The going to trade shows is a big deal. Like just going and talking to people and they're like, hey, check us out. We'll give you a class on this type of machining, or we'll send you some books. And it's just sitting there reading, going through the internet. Internet is a big deal. Go to YouTube and watch all kinds of videos.
Yeah.
I've got a degree in YouTube University. To just go on and watch different ways that people do stuff. And like, say I'm wanting to get into Swiss machining. I'm going to go in there and just watch video after video of watching how people do Swiss machining in different ways and how they orient their parts and use tools in different ways to make that certain part. It's amazing how some people they're making stuff that shouldn't be made on a Swiss machine. They're like, this is a straight up mill part, and they're doing it on those type of machines.
Right.
So I mean, it's just going through the internet and finding your stuff, making your own courses basically.
Yeah, and I mean the manufacturing community, it's so powerful and really kind of inspiring because folks are always willing to share their knowledge. It feels like, and if you're trying to approach something that you don't know how to do right then, you can find that information on the internet, and people are willing to share and talk about it, which is really exciting. So. Sounds like you've leaned on that before and you like it. So.
Oh, definitely.
Now, have you contributed at all? I mean, I'd love to plug you if you've got a YouTube channel here. Have you made any videos around any of the content that you've got there?
I'm going to eventually. I've got my GoPro set up and I got stuff where I can start videoing. I just haven't yet because a lot of my stuff's Xometry work and I can't put it out.
Yeah.
So but
as you get up there, man, we'd love to share that out and make sure that people are watching that.
Oh yeah, as I get more work outside of Xometry, I'm gonna start videoing and doing more stuff on Instagram and Facebook and all that. I just haven't been pushing because I still work 2 jobs. So as soon as I'm full time with my shop, which like I said, I'm fixing to be within just a short period of time here, it's fixing to be a full time gig.
Yeah,
and that's when I'm gonna start pushing, really pumping out some parts and promoting my business the best as I can.
Well, that's amazing, man. And honestly, we'd love to have you back as your shop grows and as you kind of focus on expanding Lingerfelt. It would be really interesting to track that story and some of the things that you're learning as you do it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, Brantley, this has been a phenomenal conversation, and I so appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us because I really enjoy being able to take part in this series because you guys are the thought leaders of American manufacturing. So it's fun to be able to just sit down and talk to you about it and hear what you're thinking. So thanks for coming on the show today, man.
I really appreciate y'all having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, check us out next week for another episode of Amplify with Adam. And Brantley, like I said, thanks for joining us.
Thank y'all.